de Froome ici, à 1 kilomètre de l'arrivée à Mur de Bretagne. C'est le patron du Tour de France dans cette première semaine, se retourne et du coup le compte d'Alexis Vuillermoz.
Allez, c'est bien, faut y aller là.
Alexis Vuillermoz qui est bien parti, regardez, le peloton et attaque de Vuillermoz au 800 mètres.
Il est bien parti.
Alexis Vuillermoz et peut-être la première victoire française au bout de Mur de Bretagne.
C'est long encore, hein, c'est long.
France-Irlande qu'on joue.
C'est génial.
Alexis Vuillermoz qui s'impose ici, en haut de Mur de Bretagne, devant Dan Martin, avec la troisième place pour Alejandro Valverde, Peter Sagan, Greg Van Avermaet est là.
Welcome back to the Cycling Iceberg podcast, everyone. What you just heard was the French commentator cheering on Alexis Vuillermoz to the stage win on the Mur de Bretagne in the 2015 Tour de France. The Mur de Bretagne is a modern classic in the Tour de France, and it will feature as his finish place for today's stage in the Tour. The first time we went there was in 2011, when Alberto Contador thought he won the stage in a close sprint against Cadel Evans. While he cheered, it was actually the Australian, who would later win that Tour, who actually won the stage. A lot has been said, written and spoken about the last time we went to the Mur de Bretagne. In 2021, Mathieu van der Poel won the stage and took the yellow jersey at his Tour de France debut. It was the second stage of that tour, and it had that extra connection to it because he raced in the purple jersey the day before, honouring his grandfather, Raymond Poulidor. However, with the attention on that, the 2015 finish has been overlooked, even though it has a great story to it. Reason enough for me to dive into it. After trying several sports, Alexis Vuillermoz fell in love with cycling at 10 years old. Having grown up in St. Cloud, near the French-Swiss border, he didn't immediately focus on road cycling. Instead, he fell for the adrenaline of mountain biking. Vuillermoz was a good mountain biker. In 2006, he won the French junior mountain bike title. At the European Championships, he lost the title by a mere 5 seconds to a certain Matthias Flückiger. The World Championships that year were held in Rotorua, New Zealand. While Vuillermoz was a favourite, it was a major disappointment for him. The Frenchman finished a distant fourth, losing out to an all-Swiss podium. Nevertheless, Vuillermoz continued to progress on the mountain bike. He celebrated his first successes in the mixed relay, winning the world and European title in 2008. A year later, he won the silver medal at the World Championships in Canberra, Australia. That was in the U23 category. These good results earned him a contract with Lapierre for the 2010 season. Lapierre, French bike manufacturer, was a relatively prestigious mountain bike team, and it was very promising that Vuillermoz got signed by them. However, things took a turn for the worse in 2011. Vuillermoz suffered from mono, and later that season, while racing on the road, he crashed badly and sustained a head injury and a fractured cheekbone. Things didn't get better. Vuillermoz lost 2 of his grandparents and his father, who had introduced him into cycling and taught him his first lessons on the bike. His father wasn't that old, so it was an extra hit for Vuillermoz, who lost motivation and without good results didn't see his contract with Lapierre be extended at the end of the year. Advised by his trainer, Vuillermoz decided to shift focus to road racing. He had raced decently on the road, but never fully explored his capabilities. After a successful period as trainee, he signed with Saur Soyasun for the 2013 season. With his decision to target road racing, Vuillermoz said farewell to mountain biking, a discipline that had brought him so much. About the off-road discipline, he later said, "Mountain biking learned me to hurt myself on the bike. Because of the extremely violent efforts, we know how to go super far into the red zone during the short efforts." At 25, Vuillermoz was a late addition to the pro peloton. His first season as a pro was nothing special. His best results included an 11th place in the Classica Primavera, a 1.1 race, and a 5th place in the Alps Isère Tour, which was a 2.2 race. He raced the Tour, but was quite anonymous. At the end of the season, the Soyasun team disbanded because no new sponsor was found. For long, this appeared to be the end of Vuillermoz's road career. He struggled to find a new contract, but was eventually signed by AG Dessert. He signed with the team on the condition that Daniel Guerdemont, a businessman from the Jura, paid his salary rather than the team. Now much better equipped to road racing, Vuillermoz performed much better. He was a valuable domestique, helping Carlos Betancourt win Paris-Nice in 2014. He finished 8th while helping Jean-Christophe Pirot, another former mountain biker, win the Critérium International. In the Giro, he finished 11th in GC, while he was on domestique duties for the Italian Domenico Pozzovivo. Pozzovivo managed 5th, but Vuillermoz's 11th place made some people think he could become a potential French GC rider in the future. At the end of that season, Vuillermoz took his first pro win, the second stage of the Tour du Gévaudan. Vuillermoz developed into a good puncher. In 2015, he finished 4th in a stage of Tirreno Adriatico. After a 6th place in La Flèche Wallonne, he won the GP Morbihan. He got selected to the Tour de France. In the Tour, Vuillermoz would mainly be a domestique for the GC leaders Romain Bardet and Christophe Perrault. Nevertheless, he got to hunt his own successes in hilly stages. While he couldn't match Joaquim Rodriguez and Chris Froome on the Mur de Huy in the 3rd stage, he did finish 3rd, which was by far the best result of his career. The 8th stage offered a new opportunity for Vuillermoz. The hockey stick stage ended on the Mur de Bretagne, a 2.2 km climb at 6.2% average gradient. After its debut in 2011, this was the second time the race would finish on the climb, but Vuillermoz wasn't considered among the favourites, despite finishing 3rd on the Mur de Huy. Wielerflits didn't give Vuillermoz a single star. They instead favoured Rodriguez, Froome, Contador and Peter Sagan for the stage win. At the start of the climb, Sky and Sunweb set the pace. There was a first series of attacks, but they all got reeled in again. Then, with 1.3 km to go, Vuillermoz attacked himself. He got followed by Sunweb's Simon Geschke and Orica Green Edge Adam Yates. Those two refused to cooperate with the Frenchman, so Vuillermoz decided to attack again just before the Flamme Rouge. With 1.1k to go, he opened a brief gap, but quickly got caught by the peloton, in which Froome was setting the pace, attempting to drop his rivals. Despite his attacks, Vuillermoz was still feeling really strong. He slotted right in the wheel of Froome, who was wearing the yellow jersey. The Brit made an attack, hoping to drop GC rivals, but defending champion Vincenzo Nibali was the only one to drop. A relatively large group of favourites remained. Froome then dropped the pace, knowing that he couldn't waste energy which he would need in the rest of the race. Vuillermoz, for his part, knew that he couldn't wait for the sprint. After all, Peter Sagan, a very rapid finisher, was still in that group. Deciding this was his moment, he placed a 3rd attack with 800 meters to go. The 3rd time was the lucky time for Vuillermoz. He got away without a reaction behind. He quickly opened a 5-second gap when Daniel Martin from Cannondale made an attempt to bridge across. The French commentators started becoming louder and louder, trying to cheer on Vuillermoz, because Daniel Martin was closing in. But as the climb flattened out towards the end, Vuillermoz gave everything to fend off Martin. He pushed through to the line, thinking about what he had learned in mountain biking. That's where he had learned how to go deep. That's where he'd learned how to push through on these short, punchy efforts. It was enough. He crossed the line to win the stage. He immediately became one of the most surprising stage winners in recent Tour history. It was, after all, just his 3rd pro win. After the stage, Vuillermoz gave an emotional interview saying, "I thought about my dad, who died 3 years ago. He was the one that got me interested in the Tour de France. He used to take me and my cousins to the side of the road to watch the Tour go past. I hope today he's proud of me." Some saw a future GC rider in Vuillermoz, but the long climbs ultimately didn't suit him enough. In 2013, he finished 13th in the Tour while working for Bardet. That was his best GC result. As a leader, he could have perhaps had the potential to finish 9th or 10th, but that was really the maximum of his potential. He was ultimately better suited to the shorter climbs. The remainder of Vuillermoz's career was marked by an absurd number of crashes and injury. In 2021, racing his first season for Total, he crashed badly in the Tour de Suisse. He suffered a pelvic fracture, and his surgeon thought he would never be able to race again. The Frenchman, however, managed to recover and won a stage in the Dauphiné a year later. At the end of last season, he retired. Personally, I cherish warm memories to the stage win of Vuillermoz. For me, I was 12 years old back then. It was the first time I could really grasp at the romance of cycling. To see a man go all out there, I was in France at the time, with the French commentator shouting him on, and then that interview afterwards, it gave it a very special load. Another interesting thing is to consider Vuillermoz's stage win in the current context. In recent years, a lot of attention has gone out to multidisciplinarity, riders combining disciplines, with especially a heavy focus on cyclocross. Van der Poel and Van Aert have placed the spotlight on that, and it seemed to be that every rider had some form of connection to cyclocross. It got presented as a new trend, and that's historically just not correct. Not only does the tradition of cyclocross riders switching to the road or combining both date back to the 1960s, mountain biking had a big wave of riders switching from mountain biking to road racing in the early 2000s. To name a couple of examples, Michael Rasmussen from Denmark. He almost won the 2007 Tour de France before he got pulled by Rabobank, former mountain biker. Ryder Hesjedal won the Giro, also a former mountain biker. Cadel Evans, Tour de France champion, former mountain biker. Christophe Perrault, also Tour de France podium finisher and former mountain biker. And Vuillermoz, for his part, he didn't really make it that big in terms of GC success, but nevertheless, he too had a successful upbringing as mountain biker before switching to the road. So in that sense, I think it's not really fair to present that multidisciplinary approach as something that's happening right now. I would say it's a trend that's been there for a long time, but what you're seeing now is that because riders race less race days on the road, that they are more open to doing some sort of other activity in the winter, which for some of them is track, and for others, it's cyclocross. There's no 100 or 120 day race seasons anymore, at least it's not the standard anymore, I should say, which makes it just that little bit easier to devote yourself for a couple of cyclocross races in the winter. I mean, Van der Poel, Van Aert, they take it relatively seriously, but there's also plenty of riders who just do a couple of races for fun.